Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Riverside Community Center for Spiritual Living, where?
Love lives here.
Yes, love does live here. I'm Reverend Jeffrey Kealoha Ryan. It is my, there we are, installed. Woohoo! It is my distinct honor and pleasure to serve this beloved community, Riverside Community Center for Spiritual Living. This morning, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing someone to you. She is our new staff minister. This is Reverend Sonia Byrne. If you want to come on up, my dear. So, Reverend Sonia is still living in Newfoundland, Canada. Yay! Right? So as I was telling the morning table earlier this morning, her home is actually closer to London than it is to Riverside. But she will be serving this community as staff minister. A lot of her work initially will be remote, and then we're going to have discussions this week as to how she might best be able to support our community and how our community might best be able to support her.
Jamaican-born Marcus Mosiah Garvey Jr. is well known as a businessman, journalist, Pan-Africanist, and powerful orator of the early 1900s. As such, he attracted thousands of followers to his black nationalist movement that became known as Garveyism. As founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, Garvey encouraged African Americans to be proud of their race and promoted cultural identity through his Back to Africa campaign. But did you know that Garvey was also a follower of the New Thought movement, as well as a student of the ideas and philosophies of religious science? In fact, Garvey studied the same New Thought philosophers as religious science founder Ernest Holmes and his brother Fenwick, and often quoted their teachings. He also was inspired by divine science co-founder Nona Brooks. Even the philosophy of transcendentalism, led by writer Ralph Waldo Emerson, resonated with Garvey. He excelled in merging racial philosophical concepts and science of mind principles while addressing the black condition in America. The strong philosophical beliefs in self-mastery, determination, and willpower that Garvey preached to black people aligned perfectly with the newly emerging teachings of science of mind. In many of Garvey's speeches and writings, he often urged his followers to get a scientific knowledge of religion. His message was clear: liberate the minds of men, and ultimately you will liberate the bodies of men. Another instrumental Jamaican in science of mind is Dr. Elma Lumsden, who founded the Temple of Light Church of Religious Science in Kingston, Jamaica in 1981. An engaging speaker and master teacher, Dr. Elma is also known for her simple yet dynamic words of wisdom, such as, "Until you can walk on water, take a boat," and "Life is a school, and we're not on holiday." Due to her leadership and diligence, Lumsden helped religious science become recognized as one of 12 key religions in Jamaica. Dr. Elma Lumsden and Marcus Garvey, Black evolutionaries in science of mind.
Don't freak out about this either, okay? You know, if you need to freak out about this, then, you know, go see a practitioner. There we go. Because you know I don't stand behind this monstrosity. It's not a monstrosity. This is a beautiful thing, but I can't be hemmed in. So the video that you just saw was produced by the African American Alliance of CSL Dallas. So congratulations to CSL Dallas. And we thank their African American group for producing this. They've actually produced a series of these videos. And so seeing that it is Black History Month this month, we are sharing those with the community here, and these videos are being shown worldwide at Centers for Spiritual Living. So yes, it is about time that we recognize and honor the vast and huge contribution of our African American community here at Centers for Spiritual Living. So thank you to all of our beloveds of color for the work that you do in the world and for promoting and bringing forth science of mind ideas and philosophy and Centers for Spiritual Living and the leadership that you have taken, and especially here in the center. I mentioned it yesterday, that I stand on the shoulders of many strong women, and I rise on the wings of many strong African American women who have led this community. So I thank all of them too. It is a rich and deep legacy that is here at Riverside Community Center for Spiritual Living, and I honor that. So the next 2 Sundays, we'll have a couple more videos to share with you as well. I believe the next one talks about Dr. Twine. You met Reverend Stacy Hilton a couple months ago, and she is the great-granddaughter of Dr. Twine, who started Third Church in Los Angeles. So you'll be hearing more about him. I believe it's next week. Welcome, my beloved community, our beloved community. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So how many of you were here yesterday? Most of you, cool. Some of you weren't, that's cool too. See the beautiful symbol up there in the window? Yes. It all came through visioning. I mentioned it yesterday that even my presence here, seeing the window way back in 2009, seeing the tree out there, it all came through visioning. It all came through meditation. Visioning is the ability to open up, or it's the practice of opening up and allowing Spirit to speak to and through and as us. Now, it's different from channeling, okay? Well, for some of us. In that we sit in open receptivity. And so it is a deeper or a more advanced spiritual practice, I would say, but it's sitting in deep receptivity to allow Spirit to speak in what it wants to share with us, to allow the light in and allow it to share what it will. And so the rain cross symbol did come through in visioning last summer, and Jeannie, over here again, Jeannie, Margaret, this is Jeannie. There you go. There's Margaret back there. So the two of them are responsible for the gorgeousness that you see here. The original concept drawn out was Jeannie's original concept, and then my beloved there, Margaret, the graphic designer friend, was able to clean it up for us so that we are now able to use it in a multitude of ways. As I was telling you yesterday, that this is really a symbol of transformation. It's really a symbol of empowerment. It's a symbol of emboldening. The dragonfly at the top symbolizes that transformation piece. And then the mission, the trapezoid, that mission bell piece, is really about taking a message out into the world. And what message do we have to take out into the world? We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Let's do it all together one more time. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. And really, that's what that symbolizes there. This phrase that came through this community back in March last year when we did that popcorn. I don't know if some of you remember. We did that popcorn, and I asked, who are we? Who are we called to be as Riverside Community Center for Spiritual Living? And all these wonderful words were just popping up, and Tony made a beautiful word cloud art for us. And so extrapolating that and extracting that, we came to arrive at this, our focus statement. And really, when you think about this symbol behind, it's really doing exactly that. This is a symbol of emboldening people, emboldening the transformative power of love. and emboldening people to take responsibility for their own lives, and through the creative process. That when we change our thinking, when we change our ideas, when we change our beliefs, then we experience the freedom, we experience the liberation that we offer. That we are now free to be who we have come to be. We are free to live our highest potential. That's what this represents to me. That's what I see when I see that. And it also feels like home. Because that rain cross for Riverside is such an emotional, there's such an emotional response when we see the rain cross. People have it tattooed on their bodies, it's on their gates, it's all over the city, the doorbells, everything, everywhere. And truly what it represents here, the way I see this, is that it really speaks to who we are as a community. People see that around the Inland Empire, the inland valleys, and they think, oh, that's Riverside. And then they're curious about what's in the center. So then that gives us an opportunity to tell them about who we are and what we do, what we believe. And then conversely, the other is true too. When we're out in communities where the inside, the teaching symbol, the thing that represents the creative process, when we're out in communities where that is known, then they ask about the rest of it. And then we have the opportunity to say, hey, we're from Riverside. And let me tell you about Riverside and the good work that's happening in Riverside. Reverend Laura suggested that on my collar that I was wearing yesterday that triggered some of y'all, again, go see a practitioner. Go see a practitioner, Eddie. Allison's there in the back. When I first put it on, I took a picture a couple weeks ago. The response, the email, or the text response I got back was, no! I love you. I love having you in community. So this month, or this entire year, what we're talking about here at Centers for Spiritual Living as a whole is we're talking about spirituality in action. And this month in particular, we have started with the 10 prophetic justice principles, and which you can find on page 4 of your Connect magazine. So if you don't have your Connect magazine, we made extra copies just for yesterday. They're out in the lobby, so make sure you go ahead and pick one of those up. In there, you'll find all the good stuff that's happening here at the center in January and February, and then March's issue is coming up way too soon. But March's issue will be out in a couple weeks. But you'll find it in there, the 10 prophetic justice principles. And so for the month of May, the first prophetic justice principle is seeking the common good. And the quality of the divine that has been attached to this, or that is associated with this idea, is this idea of oneness. And last week, we were having a discussion about oneness is being truly that God is all that there is, and if God is all that there is, and there is nothing else other than God, then truly that is who I am, that is who you are, that is who all of us is. That there is only one life, one infinite eternal beingness that is in full expression as all of creation. So it is living, breathing, moving, and having its being as you, and you in it, and you as it, and us as it. And the chair is holy as well. The chair upon which you sit is holy as well. That is a divine creation in the mind of God originally. And if God is all that there is, there's only this one stuff from everything to be created from, then everything has to be that. And that is pretty much a summation of what oneness is, right? And that when we remind ourselves, when we bring ourselves back to that idea, then we are in alignment with the one, and we know who we are, that we are the divine made manifest, then truly we can live from that place. Because, as I've quoted RuPaul for the past couple weeks, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else, right? And then, can I get an amen up in here? Amen. There we go. That's truly the oneness. But then what we also talked about last week is we discussed the idea of this oneness being, and the shadow side of this oneness, and the way this oneness and this teaching and the shadow side of it have kind of permeated or allowed for or accommodated spiritual bypass. It has accommodated our ability to try to be colorblind. It is convoluted and contrived us to think that it's all good, it's all God, and to deny the lived experiences of our brothers and sisters and siblings. And so we talked about that shadow, and that we have to be able to see first and acknowledge and honor and celebrate the diversity, because unity does not mean uniformity. How boring would it be if we all looked the same? How boring would it be if there was only one type of flower? How boring would it be if everything was gray, right? We honor and celebrate the diversity, but we have to be able to acknowledge and see it. I shared this with you last week, yes? Yes. So today's topic then, recognition of our shared humanity. Now last week we were discussing about looking and seeing differences and acknowledging differences and acknowledging that, and now we're back to talking about shared humanity. So are these contradictory statements? No, I don't believe they are. It's yet another nuance, it's yet another aspect, it's another facet of our oneness. Because what we're called to do then is what's happening is that we're not really colorblind. We're just blind to our unconscious biases. We're just blind to our own stereotypes. We're just blind to our own prejudices. Now, trigger words, okay. Ooh, breathe and see a practitioner. So prejudices simply means, broken down really easily, is prejudgments. It's just a prejudgment. It's an idea that we've already formed in our own mind about something. It's already just, and we don't even necessarily know how it got there. It happens through socialization. It happens through culturalization. It happens through lived experiences and how we move in the world. And then those prejudices can get kind of expanded. It's like, well, this group of people all seem to be behaving in this way. So let me form a stereotype around people in centers for spiritual living where they say that, where two or more are gathered, there shall be food. Right? That one's kind of close to true. But, so it's, the prejudices, if you will, are prejudgments that are based and frequently rooted from the time that we are young, and they're rooted in our larger culture, and they're rooted in our larger experiences of life. And it's these that we are frequently unconscious about. We don't see them, we don't know them. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. And so this is where we have the opportunity then to do our work to remove labels, to do our work to see where it is that I'm believing in any idea of separateness or other. Because really that's what it is, right? We've been talking about this. Anytime that I feel there is an other, anytime I feel separate, it's really rooted in fear. And it's really rooted in the idea that I don't know who I am, that I don't recognize that I am the divine made manifest, and that I certainly don't recognize it in somebody else. It's a fear. It's a separation. It's a forgetting who we are and that we are truly one with the one and living as the one. So it's rooted in fear. So last week I gave you the opportunity, I suggested that you look for the differences and honor and celebrate them and don't hide behind that. Acknowledge it. It's beautiful. And today the invitation is, yes, look and see the beauty, see the diversity, see the colors of the rainbow, and appreciate each one for what it is. And then also look not past, not behind, not through, but look with clear eyes. The eye, look with the eyes of the I, the capital I, that I that I am, and see rightly and see justly. And see that the colors of the rainbow are light. Now, I still recognize that it's blue and it's red and it's green and it's purple and it's yellow and it's orange, even though I don't look good in orange. That we recognize it, but what we're also recognizing and what we're seeing is the light, that it is all light. It does not deny any experience. It does not deny lived truth. And so when we talk about turning away from conditions in this philosophy, which we like to talk about a lot, I'm just going to turn away from it and pretend it doesn't exist, right? I'm going to deny the condition. I don't see it. How loving is that when you are sitting with somebody with a terminal illness? I don't see your experience. I don't see what you're going through. I deny that you are diseased, that there is a disease in your body, a dis-ease. How does that, beloved, feel? Is that really compassionate? Is that really loving to come from that place? Oh, no, you don't have a cold. Mm-mm. Like, as you're honking and, no, you don't have a cold. I mean, what comes up? I mean, if somebody told you, like, no, you're experiencing a cold, it's like, no, you don't have a cold. How does that feel? Does it feel authentic? Does it feel loving? Does it feel compassionate? No. So it's not about denying the actual condition, but it is denying the false belief that creates the condition. Hear that again. It's not about denying the condition itself. It's about denying or turning away from the false belief that perpetuates the condition. So what is the false belief that perpetuates this idea of prejudice, this idea of bigotry, this idea of racism, this idea of separateness? What is the false belief? I'm not denying lived experiences. I'm not denying history. I'm not denying the systemic and institutionalized oppression. I'm not denying any of that. What I'm called to do in this work, and what each one of us is called to do in this work, is to deny the idea of separation. To deny the idea that there could ever be any other than the one. That there could ever be anything other than the one. That each one of us lives, moves, breathes, and has our being in divinity and as divinity itself. Because when we forget that, then chaos erupts. I can see beauty and I can appreciate beauty, and then I also get to see the light that is that beauty. So when we come across another, what Jung talks about when we come across another is that all of our life, all of our world is simply a matter of projections. We're just making stuff up. Right? It's all projection. So whatever you're experiencing in this moment is your experience. It's all in your mind. And whatever I'm experiencing in this moment is my projection. It's all in my mind. And it doesn't mean that we're living in the matrix. Right? But who knows? It doesn't mean that we're living in the matrix, but what it means is that whatever it is that I see out there, where does that reside in me? Whatever it is I see, where does it reside in me? So what is it that I see? I get to look and pay attention to that. See where that resides in me. And then I get to do the work. I get to turn within and go within and say, okay, where am I the terrorist? Where am I the murderer? Where am I the homeless person? Where am I the asylum seeker? Where am I the refugee? Where am I the gang member? Where am I the President of the United States? Where am I the bigot? And where am I the love? Where am I my beloved? Where am I my friend? It's a question that we get to ask and go within and turn within and see. And that is where compassion starts, because the minute we can see ourselves, the minute we can see ourselves in the person in front of us or in the groups of people in front of us or in whatever's going on TV, the moment we begin to see ourselves, the moment we recognize our own divinity and we can then see it in another, then compassion has a place to enter. Love has a place to enter. And we begin to recognize our shared humanity. As the Dalai Lama has said in this month's book of the month, which you'll also find in the Connect magazine, but what the Dalai Lama has said is that all of sentient life, I shared this with you last week, all of sentient life, which I would argue is all of life, because even the trees move, even the trees have intelligence, all of life seeks to avoid suffering and seeks to experience pleasure. That's true for every one of us. All of life seeks to be loved and nurtured and cared for in some way. So how about we start there? How about we start there? Compassion, love for one another, recognizing each other as the divine. So yesterday, Reverend Colleen shared a bit from one of our favorite teachers, Joel Goldsmith. And so I want to share a brief excerpt of what she shared, because I think this really sums up everything quite beautifully when we're talking about the compassion and we're talking about that interconnectedness with each other. And so Joel Goldsmith says this, and this is from The Gift of Love, page 36. Love is what binds us together, and what is love? Love is the ability of the Christ in me to speak to the Christ in you. Love is the ability of the Christ in me to recognize and bear witness to the Christ in you. Love is the ability to know that God is just as much your life as it is my life. Love is the ability to recognize that God's grace is bestowed upon you as well as upon me. And every truth that I know about me is the truth that I know about you. And that is how I love you, by knowing God's truth about you. And so it is. So I invite our practitioners and our core council members, and I also invite our visiting practitioners to go ahead and stand and please surround the sanctuary with your presence. I recognize that there's only one power, one presence, one life, one love, one infinite eternal beingness, this one I choose to call God, this one I choose to call love, this one I choose to call joy and peace and harmony. For truly it is all that there is. It is first cause, in the beginning God, and all that there is this divine. It brought forth all of creation through itself as itself into form, through the divine mind, through the divine law, which too is the one life. And so I recognize here and now that truly there is only this one life, therefore it is my life now. The divine mind is my mind now. I live, move, breathe, and have my being in it and it in and as me. I surrender and open out a way to be the vessel through which Spirit shines. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of everyone present here today, that truly there is just this one. And so I speak my word for this community on this day, for all the beloveds present, and for all who see or hear this message at a later time, recognizing there is no time or space in God. There simply is the ever-present now. I recognize that back of all of life, there is this wholeness, this oneness, this absolute perfection and love. And that is the truth of all of creation, of all of life itself. And I honor and I celebrate the beauty and the magnificence of all the forms in which it expresses. For truly it is beautiful and it is glorious. And it is unfathomable. It is beyond, 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 and yet it is right here present and everywhere and everything. And so I recognize and honor the divinity of all life in this moment. I allow any thoughts of separation, any thoughts of otherness to simply fall back into the nothingness from which they came. For truly there is no law that supports them. There just simply isn't. And so I say yes to doing the work. I say yes to the willingness to look and see with the eyes of the great I am, the eyes of the I, and to see rightly. I release any idea of separateness. I release any idea of otherness. I simply see with the eyes of love, the eyes of compassion. I recognize our shared humanity. I recognize our shared and our individual experiences, knowing that they are all right and perfect and divine, that they all serve a higher purpose, for there is a divine idea and a divine order at work here and now and always. I simply recognize this as the call upon my life to do my own work, to liberate myself from small thinking, from being mentally lazy. And I allow this realization to open me up even greater and greater to the infinite possibilities that already exist, the infinite possibilities of transformation and love, to live my highest potential as a divine being, having a divine incarnation and a divine experience. And I give thanks for it all. I give thanks for the beauty and the power and the presence. I give thanks for the love and the light and the grace that simply is. And I release this word into the law, knowing it is done, knowing that it is fulfilled. Let it be so, and so it is.